Y254. Imagine.
Welcome back. It's Y254 and today it's all about Valentine's, yani. Kila kitu tunaongea leo ni Valentine's because it's Valentine's. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Happy Valentine's, Frida.
Happy Valentine's. Yeah. It's good. I mean, we can't avoid it.
Yeah, that's true.
No matter how much everyone feels like everyone is talking about Valentine today, we can do nothing
we
about
have
it. And
to.
we're going to say something.
Talk to us. Tell us about how your Valentine's is going. Do you have a Valentine's? I actually said on my Instagram page, and I said I'll do it. If you don't have a Valentine's, slide on my DM, to me your number. I promise I will give you a call and we'll talk for like a minute. Just me and you, just a talk.
Just a talk.
Nothing serious, but we'll just talk.
You know.
And then I'll make your Valentine's. Isn't that good enough?
Yeah, that's actually something. That's really good. You know, guys, our social media is at Y254, Facebook, Twitter. Send us those inboxes, DM us. I mean, tell us everything about your Valentine. What are you doing today?
Yes.
I know it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the middle of the week, but there must be something.
Absolutely, I'm sure there's something. And of course, even here in the studio, there is something. Now, we are hosting one of my favorite people, someone I adore. I adore his columns. I mean, I've always wanted to meet him. Yeah. And I think I'm a bit too excited to see him. None other than Chris Hart. Chris Hart, of course, he's a psychologist. There you go. He's a columnist. He writes for many papers, right?
True Love is one
Nation,
of them. Yeah.
He does all that. And above all, is a relationship expert. Wow. Do I need to say more?
No.
Can we
actually?
Chris, karibu sana. You're welcome to Y254.
Thank you.
We are young people and we want to learn much about relationships because, to be honest, I think we are such a mess.
We are such a mess.
No, you're not.
No,
really?
trust me, we are.
Relationships are pretty good. They're stable and a lot better
really
than people
good.
think.
How honest are they right now with this
well, it
age?
depends how old you are. I mean, if you're 18, you're not honest, are you?
Yeah.
So I mean, people get more honest as they get more serious, don't they?
And older as well.
And when they start going out with the person they think might be their spouse, then all of a sudden they realize they have to start telling the truth, and they do. In fact, I think of it as one of the red flags in a relationship. If you can't tell the truth to somebody, then you're not serious. It's not going to go anywhere. You see, so.
You know, Chris, like, to be very honest, when I was 18, I was in a very, very serious relationship, like really serious. I even thought I'd get married to that person, to be honest. And then, I mean, it happened and it broke my heart. And since then, I don't even take anybody serious. Okay, I'm joking, but I don't take anybody serious. You know, I was young then and I was really serious. Right now, I don't even think I'm focusing on money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, don't leave it too late. I mean, relationships are good.
Sometimes when you're 18, you feel your love is, from the heart.
Yes, sure. Your experience is quite usual, isn't it? At that time, everything gets very intense, and you really do think you've found the one. But actually, these days, educated people don't get married at 18, do they? Or even 21, or even 25.
They're still looking for money.
Well, they're just getting educated, getting into their career.
the jobs.
They don't really think about marriage until quite a lot later.
But Chris, I've met people who've met today. 2 weeks down the line, they're also thinking about getting married.
How
is that
can
not
it
real?
be?
No, it's not real. That's just hormones. That's just all the excitement of the moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a trick nature plays on us to get us into bed together, But the reality is, it takes about a year to really suss someone out to the point where you can say, okay, this one I can marry. Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
And you watch people going through the various stages, don't you? All the excitement gradually morphs into making a life together and getting to understand one another and getting committed. And then you start hanging out rather than dating.
That's true.
And it's like a prototype of living together, isn't it, as you hang out. And then very slowly you begin to realize that, hang on, I think we should be talking about the future.
Yes.
And that's what happens, isn't it? But
That's
it takes a year.
That's the scary part.
I know,
where
right?
you begin to think like, this is it.
I think it's our generation that's like that, yeah? You want to have fun in the relationship, nini.
Yes.
When somebody says like, Pierre,
when they begin to ask the question,
you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
did you just start that conversation already?
But think about it. Our parents didn't do that because, of course, they never moved much from their villages.
Yeah.
The people that they married were from the next village. They were families that they'd known all their lives, you know. And getting married was a very practical thing. It was choosing the person whose fields were next to yours, wasn't it? More than anything. And they didn't think about love. But they just thought about, you know, we need to start a family.
To be together.
Yeah, but it wasn't love.
It wasn't love.
It was just a practical thing. Yes, companionship.
Friendship.
Status in society.
Yes.
People looked up to married people and so on. But now life's very different, isn't it? I mean, now, you know, my grandparents never really went to school. But now everybody does. And most people go to college of some sort. Everybody works. Both men and women work. You know, that changes all the dynamics, isn't it? And we meet more people. So we have to learn a whole new set of skills about choosing the right one. So all those romances at 18 are very valuable because they teach you the skills.
Yes, true. So what do you think, what is love? I really get confused at this thing.
I actually wanted to ask you something. Someone is looking at us right now and they're like, okay, this is a relationship expert. But they want to know, what is love? Like, what do those 4 letters mean?
What do they mean?
How weighty are they? How important are they when you say them?
That, well, first of all, the words are very important. You know, saying you love somebody is not a small matter, is it?
Yes.
But the word has different meanings, doesn't it? Depending how old you are or what sort of relationship you're in. I mean, when you're 18, it's all hugely intense, but it's not actually love, is it? It's something a bit crazy. It's a mixture of lust and infatuation.
Like infatuation.
And you're on a bit of a roller coaster. 1 minute you adore them, and 2 minutes later you hate them.
You're bored.
And you're anxious that they're going away, and then suddenly you want rid of them. And you've moved on.
You're actually bored with them.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing that we really call love, the sort of thing you talk about when you're talking about a family, is something much more deep, isn't it? And that takes 4, 5, 6 years to develop, really. And a lot of it's about stopping seeing somebody the way you imagine them, you know, as some sort of perfect. The way you want to see them. Moving from that to seeing somebody as they really are and loving them for who they are. Yeah, now that is something you can't do in a year. It takes 4 or 5 years to do that. So you look at a couple who've got young children. With luck, they're just getting to that part of the marriage. You know, they're beginning to understand each other, warts and all, and yet they still want to be together. Now, that's a very nice feeling, that, you know, you're with someone who loves you for you. For you. Not this mythical you.
Not because they want to. It's
because you're
it's what it is.
You know?
I mean, the danger is that you both live a sort of pretense, isn't it? You both try to be more perfect than you really are. And you spend half your life sort of playing a role. Yeah, and I mean, that can get very uncomfortable.
And doing things right all the time.
Horrible. You get a lot of couples where each puts the other on a pedestal. They can do no wrong. So when they do something wrong, it's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
But then you see, they mature. And they begin to see each other as they really are. And it can develop in a very nice way. I mean, a lot of couples go through a phase where I happen to notice, you know, something you do wrong, and instead of getting upset about it, I say, I see you're doing so. It's okay, I still love you.
They make fun about it.
Yeah, and then you start to realize that I love you for the real you. And you start to feel better about yourself. You start feeling less guilty about the sort of things you do wrong and all the rest of it. And life can get very nice after that phase. Now that's where romance and love is supposed to take you, but it takes 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. Okay, we are messed up. 5 years,
guys. 5 years. You can wait.
You can wait
5 years.
I don't think so. I don't think we have the time. I don't have the time to wait for 5 years. You know,
that's the thing with the guys that are watching us today. They don't have the time to wait for 5 years.
Well, the trouble is that men and women these days are on a different timeline.
Exactly.
It used to be that everybody got married sort of 20-ish, and the guy was always a couple of years older than the girl, sort of thing. Now, guys tend to want to get married about 3 or 4 years into their career. So you take a guy who's been to college just for 1 degree, he'll be 27, 28, he'll start to think about serious girlfriends rather than fun.
Yes.
Now, the problem is that the girls at 28, 29 are still thinking about their careers, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's true.
And in fact, the average age for educated women getting married is now well into their 30s. So now there's a clash. The guys are wanting to be serious.
But the women are still chasing their careers.
Yeah.
They're still waiting for 35.
Yep. course,
You know?
what happens when the girl gets to 35?
Yeah.
Where have all the good men gone?
Gone.
Obvious, they've married.
To the younger girl.
Well, they've got married to...
Oh, we have it. I knew we cracked this thing. And then,
Yes.
right, Chris? Then they go for sponsors. They go for the older men.
Well, what
We are
choice have they
back.
got? You see, a guy at 35 who has never been married has got a screw loose. There's something wrong. The girls won't have him because he's got a personality disorder,
Yeah.
or he's become a permanent bachelor. You know, he lives that sort of
He
lifestyle.
lives like that, yeah.
So any girl of 35-ish who's thinking about seriously getting married must not go out with a guy of 35 who's single because screw loose.
Yeah.
Yes.
So instead, she must look for somebody who's a bit older, and who's been married. So I'm afraid she has to go looking for the
someone's
divorcees
husband.
and so on.
Yeah.
Or people's husbands. You see, that's
well,
why the
let's not
generation
talk-
is really getting all messed up, right?
Yeah, it actually gets to that.
But Chris, it's true. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
happening.
but there's another reason for that. You know what the reason is, don't you? It's not about morality or anything like that.
what is it?
Well, think about it. If we started listing some of the men you would not marry,
Yes.
okay, you wouldn't marry somebody who'd never had a job. Chronic unemployed, yeah, you wouldn't marry him. You wouldn't
Someone
marry-
younger than you.
You wouldn't marry somebody who spent his whole life in committee. You wouldn't
Exactly.
marry a drug addict. You wouldn't marry a drunkard. True?
Yes.
You wouldn't marry somebody who was 4'3".
Yeah.
Okay, now if you add all those together, I'm afraid it comes to about 40% of the male population. Getting the message.
Yeah.
40% of the men are not actually getting married. They are having all sorts of crazy relationships, but they don't get married, which means that actually 60% of the men are fathering all the children.
Yes.
Now that's what's causing the girlfriends and the bits on the side and all the rest of it. Women are sharing the best
Women
men.
are sharing the best men.
Yeah, that's what's happening. And if you want to stop that happening, it's not about morality, it's about economics. It's about
Okay.
male employment. If lots and lots of young men have lots and lots of jobs, the 40% becomes 10%,
goes
becomes
to 10%.
5%.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Because right now, every woman is trying to get so good in their career.
Yes,
They want to make sure they're the best.
yes.
And, you know, when it gets to the point where the man has to compete. He has to.
Men
He
always
wants
have
to
to
feel
compete.
in.
No, men
as
always
well.
have to compete.
You know, he
Yeah.
wants to feel, I'm the man in the house.
Yes,
But
yes.
you're working a little harder than he is. So it gets a bit hard, you know, and that's why the young people would prefer, you know, someone established already,
Yeah.
you know, because they
Yeah.
don't have to battle with that.
You know, the oddest thing is, you think about the lady you've just been talking about.
Yes.
She's really competed in her career. She's got a good income. She's independent. She still wants a guy to be better than her.
Exactly.
So now the trouble is, she's already practically at the top of the heap. That
Yes.
leaves only a small number of men available. That is tough.
Yeah.
So you can see actually life is a little hard at the
It's a
moment.
little harder than we thought.
So, wow, this is so profound. So
Yes.
now, you know, especially our generation, it's social media, it's social media dating, it's digital.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's why we're getting into all these kind of problems when it comes to relationship. What's your feeling about love and the digital era that we're living
Okay.
in?
Most of the dating sites, or whatever you like to call
Yes.
them, are actually aimed at hookups, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not really aimed at serious relationships.
Serious relationship.
I think when you get serious, you have to abandon the social media. You have to abandon Facebook. You have to abandon all the others. You have to start facing up to somebody physically. Do you see what I mean? If you try to meet somebody online, you're going to have a tough time. The
Their
relationships.
expectations.
Yeah, that's right. And worse, people are inherently dishonest online,
Dishonest,
aren't they?
yes.
Yeah.
And that starts the relationship off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
On a lie.
You know,
A
even a
huge-
small thing like I touch up my profile picture a bit, so I actually look a bit better than I really
Yes,
am.
you actually touch up everything to
Yeah,
your
don't you?
age,
You
to
make a
your
Photoshop.
to your career,
Everything.
to everything. Yes.
Yeah. And all the little details about your life somehow glow a little bit too much,
Yeah.
don't they? And then you meet the real me, and you're disappointed.
Yes.
And you can see that actually starting relationships online
Yeah.
is a short-term thing. You have a bit of fun and it's over. Having said that, I did actually meet my wife online.
No.
She wrote to me though. She wrote.
I'm sure she's watching you.
I hope she's watching.
Well, I hope she is, but I don't suppose she is actually. But you know, she wrote to me just an email because I'd written a column or something. You know, and things went from there.
Wow.
But meeting somebody online, meeting them on Tinder, that type of thing, sets you off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, that's true. On a lighter note, now that you've talked about your wife.
Your wife?
So what's your plans for Valentine's? What are you
Oh,
planning?
right. Well, she and I, we avoid going out on Valentine's night because, you know, the stuffy restaurants with all those people sitting
Everyone is
silently,
there.
they're all wearing the bright colours, you know. So, no, we are going to just eat in, but we're going to have a rather nice meal. We're going to theme it in red, you know, so red peppers, carrots, tomatoes, beetroot. The children will have to wear red, so they're the waiters.
They're the waiters today.
So we'll
Oh
make,
my God, I
so
love
we'll make
that.
a bit of fun.
I love that. No, we should have had you last week so you give us such tips, you know, so we know what to do. Right?
It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing because.
But you know, the basic idea about Valentine's is not to go out and spend a lot of money. It's actually just to have a bit of fun.
Just a moment
and
with
say
your loved
nice
one.
things to one another, and
Yes.
find old photographs, and just, you know.
No, and does it really have to be just that day?
No, of course not.
Does it really
but,
have to be
but
just the one day
The beauty of Valentine's is that it's an excuse. You should be like this every day of the
Every
year,
day.
but on Valentine's you make a
You
little
just
more
have
effort.
to be the yes.
Yeah, and it's a little bit the same with a birthday, with Christmas. You know,
Yes.
you just do a little extra that day.
But I think we're just given that particular day just to prove a little bit that you
Just a
really
little
care
bit.
about the person, especially
Yeah.
now that we're too busy working
Yeah.
and
Yes.
whatever. It doesn't hurt. And maybe that's why we ladies get really upset when somebody doesn't do something for us.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
we've all been busy. I don't keep nagging you about taking me out for dinner. I just want you to do something very special for me on this day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You
It
know?
doesn't have to be outside. It can be just home.
it
and,
can be
you know,
anything.
your usual favorite movie, your
But
usual
yeah,
favorite
That's
everything.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
So you get a bottle of wine and a nice little bit of food, and you
Yes.
just sit on the sofa and you talk, or you go and sit on the balcony and watch the sun
And
go
then watch
down,
the
or you know.
stars.
Send me flowers in the office. Just
Yeah.
250 flowers. Just send them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now
Yes.
some of us are going to be breaking up today because we didn't get flowers. Is it true what they say that many people break up after Valentine's?
Actually, quite a lot do fall
Do
out.
them,
I've
yeah.
actually watched people have a row in a restaurant. You know, that they've gone there with all the expectations,
Yes.
and it doesn't work out. You know, the food is not quite as nice as they wanted, and
The-
it's slow,
there's no huge
and
bouquet
everything's a
of
bit
flowers.
quiet,
Yeah.
and they don't know what to talk about. And before you know it, they're bickering. So yes, a lot of people do.
But isn't it weird that if you find yourself sitting with someone you say you love and you don't have something to say, something must be wrong.
Yeah, I guess.
The
But
communication,
then-
because sometimes you don't need to talk all the time. Sometimes that moment can talk for
that
itself.
awkwardness.
Yeah, there's that
quietness.
awkwardness. There's the normal
yeah.
quietness.
Yeah, but you know, it is funny, isn't it? Some couples do lose their ability to talk.
When they're together.
They've lost interest in one another. They don't ask the right questions anymore. They don't care
Say
about
the
each
right
other's
things
day
anymore.
And,
Yeah.
and they've forgotten all the nice things that happen. And they get swamped by all the ugly things that have happened. I mean, every relationship has to deal with some stuff. You know,
Yes.
there's bad things that are inevitable. But they tend to focus on that and forget that, you know,
There's the goodness.
there
in
were
this.
good
Yeah.
moments
Yeah.
and they've had a nice time. So they lose the ability to talk about the good things.
So tell someone that is watching, how do you maintain that spark?
Yeah.
For
I was actually going to ask that.
yes, how do you keep it? You know, you've met with someone when it's the first 6 months, it's all
Yeah,
rosy
it's all,
and it's
you know,
everything,
yeah.
and then it gets to 1 year, and then 2 years, and then
You just relax. You know, you forget.
something
that's-
happens.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think
all of a sudden you're too comfortable with this person, you forget.
I think the biggest problem that a lot of couples face is that typically we get married in our 30s these days, and it's the peak time in our careers.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have children, and they are quite hard work. And so the couple take their eye off each other,
Yes.
and they think only about work, children, schools,
School.
social life, the wider family,
Yeah.
and suddenly there's no time for themselves. So when it comes to actually maintaining the spark, it's actually about carving out just enough time for yourselves as a couple. And I'm not talking about, 3 or 4 hours a night. I'm talking about half an hour. Like, I know this is going to sound really weird, but one of the most important habits successful couples have is that they go to bed together
Yeah.
at the same time. So they actually have a bedtime, and they have a bedtime
pillow
routine.
talk. Yes.
And they chat for half an hour before bedtime. They sit on the sofa and they have a last snack, and they
Yes.
chat about nice things. And they make it a habit not to bring up difficult problems at that time. And of course, needless to say, their sex lives improve dramatically, because if you're warm and friendly with someone on a sofa, well, I think
30
you can
minutes
guess
before they sleep, of course.
the result's inevitable,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
So they have good sex lives. That's another thing that couples forget, that their sex lives are very, very important, and they start neglecting them. They start thinking of reasons not to, rather than the reasons to. Well, that's a big mistake, especially if you are tired and busy. You do need to find those few minutes together. And that is actually the secret.
But Chris, I mean, honestly, how easy is that? I have many kids, 3 kids.
I've come from work.
I'm working, I'm tired.
I've come from
Kids-
school as well.
Yeah, kids have homework. I have to sit there, cook, do homework with the kids. My husband has just come, he's summoned his newspaper and gone to sleep. You know, like he can't sit there as I do. You know, Kenyan men. They just leave me there.
I think you need to train him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same process as training a puppy.
Then he'll say I'm a nagging wife.
No,
and I
you
start
don't. That's the
training him.
point. You see, you don't nag. Nagging is what most of us do, and it doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
The right thing to do is every time he does something that is even slightly in the right direction, like he smiles at you, you make sure you smile back and you raise the temperature a little bit and hint at nice things to follow and things like that. And he will start doing those things much more frequently.
I'm sure if he smells, you're like, okay, you cheated last night. Why are you smiling?
You're about to lie.
Yeah, you're about to lie.
Well, tease
But
each
it's
other.
a good thing.
Yes.
It's really beautiful.
But do try and find that little bit of time together, just before the end of the evening. It doesn't have to lead every night to something. It just has to be a little bit
And
of
if
time.
it does, it's still healthy.
Then it's good. Then
it's
it's great.
good.
It's actually great for the relationship.
And you should. Actually, I often say that successful couples make love 24/7. In other words, they are always just looking at one another, saying small things to one another. You see what I mean?
But
Okay.
You mean...
You mean you don't believe me?
No, when you say
we
24
actually
hours,
do.
making love 24 hours.
It's a little very healthy, actually. So
Okay. See, we've been doing it all wrong, Frida. But what you mean by 24 hours?
I mean that
love?
even when you're doing very, very simple things like washing the
Like
dishes,
washing the
you just
dishes.
stand a little closer and you tease each other a little bit. And, just small things that raise the temperature.
the temperature.
Chris, you said your son is how old?
Again.
How old is he? Again, is he taken?
Say that again.
Is he
sorry.
taken? Does he have a girlfriend?
Who?
Do you have
Your
a son?
son.
Do you have a brother? Anybody, a relative? Somebody
Sorry
who we
about
can
that.
talk to?
Sorry
you
about
seem to
that.
have
Someone
trained-
that is
They're all
going to run
married.
to
They are
her in the
married.
kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And my youngest is a girl, so hard luck.
Come to talk about your family, your kids, your everybody. How, as parents, how are they bringing us up rightfully? To
Yeah.
have correct relationships
now.
the right way.
Yeah.
What's there? I mean, how?
Well, the
how
most
they-
important thing that couples can do
Yes.
to educate their children is to show them how to live their lives. So, on the one hand, that's about working hard and doing well at your work and all the rest of it. But it's also about showing affection to each other, your spouse.
Yeah.
Because if you show that to your children, then they know that that's what
That's how it
relationships are all
should
about.
be. Yes.
And so, yes, they'll still go to college and have crazy relationships there. But when they start thinking about marriage,
Something
they
serious.
know what marriage is about. It's about finding someone that you can be that warm with for years and years and years at a time.
They always look for someone
Yeah.
that is like their mom or their dad.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. They really are. Kids don't admit it and they don't realise it.
Yeah.
But they are hugely impressed by what went on between their parents.
That is true.
And so if they see a warm, friendly, teasing, sexy relationship
Yes.
with their parents, then they know that's what marriage is all about, instead of playing some ghastly game with one.
But as well, sometimes parents forget to tell their children that they had times in a relationship. It's good to show them that you're affectionate, yes, and that you're in love, and
Sure.
it's good to be good to your mom,
Yeah.
But sometimes parents forget to tell the kids it's not all rosy.
No.
We've not been here for 30 years in our
Yeah,
marriage.
and
We've not had 30 years of our
Well,
best.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, children, as I say, need to see their parents living their lives well. So they need to see them working hard, as I said. But they also need to see them making mistakes and cleaning up afterwards.
Yes.
And dealing with difficult things and dealing with them honestly with the children. So if somebody in the family is ill, for example, they actually talk with the children about what's happening and, you know, that they're worried about grandma and all the rest of it. And if there's something bad happens in the family, like an illness or a redundancy or something like that, it's talked about openly. And the kids get to know that you can deal with these things.
You can sort things out.
Yeah.
But when you think about it in our African, like the way we are brought up, our parents they don't show affection like
No, I mean
openly.
neither did mine. You see, you go back
Yeah.
50, 100 years, that was the style, wasn't it? Men and women didn't talk much. They
Yes.
weren't affectionate, and they certainly didn't show it.
Yeah.
But times have changed. I mean, now people have to be much more skillful about relationships. You can't just live in a farm in the bush. You know what I mean? Nairobi's different. So you've got to learn those skills, and you have to get them from your parents. And so parents do need to show that affection, and they do need to be honest and talk to their children about things. And they need to encourage their children to talk to them too. You know, I mean, every parent worries themselves sick that things are going to go wrong in their children's lives.
Very true.
And the answer is you encourage your children to talk to you. Then you pick up the signs that they've got in with the wrong group of friends, and you sort it out. You know?
Yeah, I actually was about to ask you, someone, you know, sometimes when the youth hardly ask questions to their parents, they'll definitely ask probably the big sisters or the big brothers, but they'll go to their friends. You know,
Yes, of course.
how do I do about this? You know, I've met this guy and this one, and I
But the
don't know
trouble is,
who,
you're
you know.
asking someone who may lie,
Yes.
certainly hasn't got much more skill than you have.
Yeah.
And the reason, of course, children don't ask their parents or don't talk to their parents is they're frightened of getting a hard time.
A hard time.
And that is one of the most important parenting lessons. Don't give your children a hard time.
Especially talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if they don't talk to you, that's when you find
That's
them
when
making
things go
those
wrong.
mistakes.
Yeah.
And when they come home, when they've done that, you don't even know what to ask them.
No.
Yeah.
So anytime you see your child sort of hinting that they want to talk to you about something, you
Give
should
them a chance.
You should give them the chance. You should give them 5 minutes of your undivided attention,
Yeah.
and you should put your smile on, even if they're telling you something really seriously bad. You know.
Just put your grain on.
Yeah, that's right. No, you must not ever give them the impression that the thing they're telling you is upsetting you, because if you do, they won't
That's
tell you
it.
next time.
They will actually never tell you anything else.
Exactly. And that's when things go wrong. So yeah, parenting, definitely listen to your kids.
Absolutely. And talking about our children, what would you advise a young person, a youthful guy, 15 to 25 years, or rather 18, people who are rushing into these relationships? They meet somebody on social media, on Twitter, and they're out already dating. They don't even know each other. What's your advice to the young people when it comes to
Think of it as
relationships?
training.
Yes.
Think of what they're doing as learning. Don't think of it as the one and only time that you're going to ever find true love or something like that. Just accept that young people, teenagers, of course they want to go out together and do things together, but they don't know how to do it. So go out there, get your feet wet and learn the skills, and accept that the relationships will probably be quite short, and you'll probably meet an awful, you know, as they say, you're going to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the right one. Just accept that and don't get worried about it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, last thing, Chris, before we wind up, I'm sure there's somebody there who's looking at you and saying, I would like to talk to Chris. I'm going through something. You know, I feel like he can listen to me, can talk to me. Are you open to people talking to you, and how can they find you?
The easiest way is just, dare I say it, go online. If you just go to Google and say Chris Hart Psychologist, all my details come up.
Oh, great.
And so they can very easily get in touch with me.
Google is our friend.
Yes, Google's my friend.
Sure, Google, just our social media pages, it's relationships. It's love, it's Valentine, it's red, it's
you know, you're on fire. It's Valentine's.
It's amazing.
But you know what? What's Valentine's without sports?
Our own sorrow. I mean,
our own very sorrow.
Yeah.
We can't have Valentine's without sports. So we're going on to sports when we come back. But right now, talk to us. It's at Y254. Tell us what you think and what you're expecting Osoro to tell us.
Yeah, if you want us to you know, get you to talk to Chris Hart as well, talk to us on our social media pages. We'll get him to you.
All right. We take a short break.
We'll be right back.